This is ITV.
Certainly the best.
Welcome to yet a fresh episode on the program Law and You, as we spotlight very important issue that we see every day in our everyday transactions. Now, do you know that owing money in Nigeria can cost you more than just the interest? It can cost you your peace of mind. It can also cost you your dignity. It can cost you even sometimes your life. A situation where you get midnight calls after getting your daytime calls from those that you took the money from. To a point even where you are being harassed or sometimes even brutalized, and also to a point where you are facing a demand notice or a court order, and then law enforcement and all the rest. How then can we draw the line legally, or what the laws of the land apply to where we can draw the line between what is a legal means of recovering debt and what is also an illegal means of recovering debt? My name is Philip Omo. This is the courtroom where we'll look at these issues and find a way to resolve them. And discussing this with me, I have a legal practitioner with me, and his name is Emmanuel Obakwalo. Big thanks for joining me in this new year.
Good day, Philip. Good day, Nigerians.
All right, so let's look at the background on what debt is before we go into total about where we can draw the line between what can be called illegal debt recovery and illegal means of recovery.
Debt recovery is a pure civil matter.
Oh, it's not criminal.
Civil, yes. And there are legal frameworks.
You mean owing debt is a civil case?
Civil. Pure civil.
If the debtor defaults? Civil.
But there are legal frameworks on debt recovery. And what are these? They are 14 in number. But time may not permit us to begin to go through them all.
Absolutely.
So we may choose some of them. 1, the Companies and Allied Matters Act. 2, the Central Bank Act. 3, the High Court Civil Procedure Rules of various states. 4, the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules of the Federation. 5, we have the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Company. These are some of this debt recovery we have. We also have the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act. Now, when you look at debt recovery, like I did say, is a pure civil matter, and it has procedure and processes to be followed. Now, if A gets money from B, or loans money from B, or borrowed money from B, you are to pay back that money based on the conditions upon which the loan was given. So it becomes a contract between the parties. And the party that is now the loanee, the party that is now the debtor, is duty bound to obey the conditions upon which the contract was entered.
Even if the conditions does not meet the requirement by law?
The conditions must be, it is only the court that has the power to interpret whether or not the conditions meet the requirement or does not meet the requirement. Where they don't meet the requirement, the court will find out it.
Okay.
Because, you see,
even if the court finds out it, but the loanee has signed to that. So there's a contractual agreement.
Yes. Somebody can be that so desperate and assign and go to sign anything that will even be to his detriment.
So can the
he
court,
sign
will
his
the
death
court admit
warrant.
that, being that the person signed to that agreement, even though it doesn't, or it negates, or it breaches the constitutional provision?
The court may, where it breaches or it violates the law.
Okay.
The court will not accept the conditions.
We ignore
in
the
total.
signature.
Yes.
That, or
the
agreement.
court will not accept it in total.
Okay.
The court will want to look at the fairness of the condition.
Okay.
And what it should be, what the law says.
To administer
with
justice.
yes, with respect to it, because the court only gives justice. And the court looks at, and justice can be two-way traffic. So the court considers that. So, and as such, in such a situation, even the debtor can get the approval of the courts for protection.
Okay.
The law protects also the debtor. So that is what we look at.
Okay.
And that is what the court considers when there is a matter of such nature before
is
it.
This what you just said is indicative of a contract, but let's look at, as in a written contract, I mean, but let's look at a situation where there's just a verbal agreement, like friendly loans, for instance. I don't want to use the word, but let me use the word: informal loaner or lender giving to a friend, like me giving to a friend and saying, well, 2 months back I needed money, okay, but by the time my friend now defaults, just a verbal gentleman agreement, you know. By the time he now defaults, do we have the local standard to litigate?
Yes. You know, contracts, there are two types of contracts. There is the implied contracts, which is a verbal contract. It simply means that the contract is not spelled out in black and white. The contract is not written. It takes the form or pattern or nature of a gentleman's agreement. Such contract, the law also allows it, recognizes it rather, and allows the contract to be between parties. Just as because the law recognizes it, and the law also considers situations of such. There is also the express contract. This one now is a contract entered by the parties where they spell out the contract, the conditions,
written,
the terms, everything that the parties must do with respect to that contract. And you see, express contract is always easier for the parties who entered it.
For debt recovery,
yes,
it's always easier.
Yes, because of the contract is spelled out.
Documented.
That every person, every Tom, Dick and Harry can read and understand that this is a contract entered by the parties. However, where in an implied contract or what is known as gentleman agreement, there are also conditions the court will look at, particularly where that loan that was given or the borrowings that was administered frowns are contrary to conditions of debt of loans. I get me, of loans. For instance, the interest. If the interest is overburdensome, if the interest contradicts the percentage as provided for by law, the law will also look at such contract that the parties ought to be fair to themselves, with respect to that contract. So what the court
the one norm takes effect.
Yeah. So what the court
situation.
Yeah. So what the court does is that the court looks at the fairness of the condition between the parties or amongst the parties, as the case may be. So in debt recovery, there are legal process to recover your debt. However, in course of carrying out the debt recovery, if a party, either of the party, choose to assault or batter another, it now has a criminal flavor.
Okay. Before we go there, let's exhaust and explore this aspect you just said, most especially, for instance, for how you call it, a gentleman agreement, verbal agreement, and this does not involve, the lender having the license to do that. How does the court address this?
Where the lender is not a certified lender, it becomes an issue.
For debt recovery, you mean?
Yes,
Or
for
to
debt.
litigate? Both.
When you want to recover debt, you follow the processes. If you choose to toe the line of alternative dispute resolution, where a mediator is appointed, even for there to be a mediator, it is the parties that must apply to court. The parties must apply. So the court appoints, or the court appoints to them a mediator for them. But in most contracts today, the parties in their agreement where the loan now is an express one, that means documented. The parties themselves always put in that contract a clause suggesting the process of how to recover the debt. They put a process. They may say, okay, where the loanee violates this, our first step will be that we will both appoint a mediator who is to sit to determine the matter between the two of us. And where that doesn't work, we cannot choose to go to court. Where that happens, sir, the parties, where there is a violation of the terms and conditions of that contract, either of the party cannot just run to court to seek redress. If you go where the conditions of the contract is now brought to court, and the court sees that there is a clause that says that first the parties must go to a mediator, seek an alternative dispute resolution to ensure that this matter is determined. The court will now ask the parties to go and do so. Until that fails, that is when they cannot come to court. And in most modern contracts today, that is the pattern they follow in recovery of debt. They ensure that the process upon which the debt will be recovered is followed, is infused in that contract. So that's why it is safer and better to have an express contract with respect to loan or borrowings.
All right, thank you.
The parties will be more secured than the oral one where there may be a processes or method of denial.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Well, this is Law and You in case you're just coming across it. And my name is Philip Omo-Gyukma. I'll be speaking with Emmanuel Obakwalo, a legal luminary. And we're going to be taking a short break, after which we'll delve deeper into the topic, most especially the aspect of harassment and seizure of property. Where does the law draw the line? To stay. Welcome back. The show is Law and You. I still have my guest with me now. Can a loaner or a lender, seize the loanee's property without due process?
No. It becomes an offense. It becomes a crime.
It becomes a crime?
Yes.
Or a civil wrong?
The civil wrong will not metamorphose to a crime because you cannot seize the property of a debtor or a loanee without a court order.
Okay, a court order must be there.
You cannot. You don't have that power.
Okay, but let's paint a scenario where the lender is not really registered by law.
Whether or not it's not a certified lender or a legal lender, a legal lender cannot seize.
Talk less.
More of a lender that is not certified. You cannot seize someone's property. That's why some of these persons who call themselves private lenders, who are registered, you see them, one of the conditions they give most times when there is need to borrow money from them, they will give a condition of bring a landed property.
Yeah, like collateral security.
Yes.
My mind was going there.
Bring a landed property. And most times their interest, they will want to go and know the land, see where the land is, and they begin to pick interest. So by the time the lender is defaulting, the loanee or the borrower is defaulting, you see them begin to show interest with respect to that land. At times they will just go sell they pretend to sell the property to somebody, then that person will overturn or sell the property to them again. So and when they want to present before the court, if the matter now goes to court, they'll say that they sold. The court will say, no, you don't have that power. You don't have that power. Where there is a default of the contract entered by the parties, the best method or best step to take is to seek redress. Go before the court and say, XYZ had violated the agreement, the contract entered between us or between the parties. And as such, I want to recover my money. The court will come up with a proper judgment.
Okay.
Someone that will even give both parties peace.
Okay, take for instance, in the gentleman's agreement, there was an agreement that if you are not able to pay me in 2-3 months, I pick your car. Is that admissible in court?
It isn't.
Even if the loanee signed to it?
It isn't. He should pay back your money. And even if there's any need for the car to be sold, he should by himself sell his car and give you your money. It's safer and it's legal. But where there's a seizure of the car by the lender,
that becomes an illegal means of debt recovery.
Illegal means of debt recovery. And you know, it suggests crisis between the parties. But mind you, at the point of entering into that contract, the parties enter into the contract with peace, smiles, joy, and happiness. But now that you want to recover the debt, there's now crisis.
Because money is involved.
Not only that, especially where you follow illegal means to recover that debt. There will be crisis between the parties. Where you follow legal means, for instance, you go to court for redress, the other party will even be more afraid.
Okay.
And may want to seek an alternative dispute ADR means of resolving the matter. May say, okay, may tell the court, my lord, can we settle out of court? Maybe at the close of the day, the court may pass such as consent judgment between the parties. But where you toe the line of illegality to recover that debt, it becomes an issue.
Okay, let's look at how a loaner, or rather a lender, can get his debt back in terms of what is being owed, can recover his debt, most especially if he is not having the required license, and there are charges or interest that was inbuilt, because we had this conversation off camera. So I want you to bring back on record as in if such a lender or a gentleman who gave that money out, if he has the legal backing to impute interest when he has no license as a lender.
It's commonsensical. He doesn't have right to request for any form of interest. He doesn't have that right.
On the basis that he's not licensed?
Yes, he doesn't have that right. Because that purported or supposed contract entered by the parties is even an illegal contract. And an illegal contract cannot become legal by seeking redress in the court.
But the court can give it a soft landing, mostly to the creditor, because it was just an act of kindness.
Act of kindness.
Say, for instance, I'm lending money to a friend. It was an act of kindness. And
act of kindness.
You can't tell me I can't get the money back even though I built interest on it.
No, you can't get that interest.
I can't get the money with the interest.
Yes.
What makes you say so?
Because you are not a certified lender.
Okay, so what would the court do, or what do we have as the law?
So it still depends on.
I only get my money back without it.
Yes, and it depends on the process you also follow.
Considering the fact that this money has spent months, I would have rather given my money into the business and then it yields profit.
It is not.
Isn't the law going to also find a way to resolve that? Because it involves money that I would have kept into the business and it would have yielded profit. It
is not the duty of the court to know how long the debt has been and the time you choose to recover the debt. It is not the duty of the court. That contract from the outset is an illegal contract. So you cannot now give it the flavor of legality to ensure, because
it passed through the bank, for instance, and it was written loan.
Loan. Mind you, you just told me that it's a gentleman agreement between two friends, and the lender is not a certified lender. So it's the toga on that contract is that it is a mere gentleman agreement between the parties. So he can seek redress to recover the debt, but the interest, he is not qualified to do that. He is not. You can just say, I need my money. Stricto sensu. And mind you, there is going to be a counter also from the borrower.
Okay.
To say, no, it was this, it was not this.
Okay, so let's look at the safest way, because it's one thing for you to request for money as a loan. It's another for you to, keep integrity and get this money paid. Now, what's the safest way? Because we are advising the public, for instance, what's the safest way to get money as loans?
One.
Is it from just the bank?
The bank.
Microfinance bank also?
Yes.
Certified?
Certified. Go to the bank. Make an application. We have too many banks. We have the Bank of Industry. We have the Bank of Agriculture. It depends on what you want to do with the money you want to loan. Because first, you must convince the bank what you want to use the money for. Not because you want to buy tissue paper. You now go and apply in the court, in the bank, that you need a loan.
Or personal consumption.
Or you want to, or you want to buy phone for yourself. You go to the bank and apply for loan. No. What will the money be used for?
That's where we are, because this stringent means, all right, tied to getting loans from banks, brought a point where we now see loan sharks, digital loans, feasting on the unsuspecting public. So how do you address that bottleneck in the banks, for instance?
Technology also has its own disadvantage. I saw somebody who has an app on his phone, and he was using it to get loans, small loans, from some illegal
loan sharks.
Yes. And one of the days they called him to say, come, you are already owing over 50-something thousand naira. Come and pay. We are giving you 3 days to come and pay the money. And he was running up and down. I said, why did you do that?
So to avoid that, how do we tackle that aspect of the banks, for instance? Because we're going to be rolling this into a fresh episode, and we'll delve deeper into the digital loans that you just made mention of. But before we round off in less than 3 minutes, how do we clear off the bottleneck system in the regular banking system, for instance, that now gave room for all of these, ways by which those who are applying for loans now seek other means instead of seeking the right way where they will not be defrauded. So how do we address the bottleneck system in banks?
The banks should ensure that the processes to
flexible.
Get loans are flexible, because just now it is very cumbersome.
But the bank doesn't allow personal consumption.
No, you cannot, because like you are hungry. You want to go and apply for loan.
You must.
What do you do with the money? Convince the bank, because the bank too,
except it's a salary account, for instance.
Yes, the bank too
that can be given on personal consumption.
Yes, because you have a salary account. Yes, but if at the end of the day, when the salary comes, the bank takes the money.
But if it's not, then maybe we'll be looking at the turnover, for instance.
Because one, The bank also consider how much is this person applying for, the amount of the money. So that will now make the bank to be strict and ensure that the process is strict. Why? The bank want to be safer, to ensure that they are not giving their loan to the wrong person, and that their loan will come as at when due. And two, even the borrower will not be a fraudulent person.
Okay.
2. And 3, 4, the borrower too will use the money for the purpose for which it was applied for.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel Obakpolo. Awesome to have you join on this very, very sensitive and fresh topic on today. We're going to be looking at this, an extension, which is the second episode, which we'll be looking at still on debt recovery, both the legal and illegal means. Do well to join us same time next week. I am Philip Omo Gupon. Bye for now.
Dear Mama, I sabi say to raise me no dey easy as you no get any support. But we try. Now only you I been get. And for my eye, you no go ever fit do me bad. Until the day when my life change forever.
You go follow my friend Carol. Go Cameroon. She go take care of you like say you be happy king. I no fit take care of you again.